industry stakeholders in supporting this kind of education in order to meet the future workforce requirements that they have. There were 56 people who registered for this webinar today, and they're both faculty and industry practitioners, so I want you to know that you'll hear information and resources that might assist you as an educator or as a practitioner to provide further training and professional development for you and or your employees. And then I'd like to invite you to join the Best Center Network by registering online at bestctr.org so that you can stay informed about future professional development workshops and webinars that we'll be putting on, and have access to a wealth of resources which you'll hear more about during this presentation. And we do have another BAS Building Automation System workshop coming up in November at Siemens headquarters in Chicago, and in January our institute will take place at Lawrence Berkeley National Laboratory just above the UC Berkeley campus. So if you register online at bestctr.org, you will be a part of our network. And with that said, we have a very power-packed presentation. Let me briefly review what we'll be covering today. Peter Crabtree, who is the Principal Investigator for the Best Center and Dean of Career Technical Education at Laney College, will review a little bit about the Best Center and also talk about high-performance building technician skill sets that have evolved over time. And then we'll have Ted Wilinski, who is the Co-Principal Investigator for the Best Center and also a faculty member at Milwaukee Area Technical College, talk about finding faculty and industry advisors. Then we'll have Brian Lovell, who is also a co-PI with Georgia Piedmont Technical College, talk about the development of labs and the importance of pulling together the right resources for a good training lab. And we're going to showcase one of the teaching labs that we have at the College of DuPage, and Bob Clark, who's a faculty member and coordinator of the program, will address that. And then we'll also talk about the way in which you can get funding for your programs through the National Science Foundation. So Charlotte Forrest, who is a project manager and co-PI with Mentor Connect, will address that. And then lastly, we'll pull it all together for you by showing you the resources that are available on the website. And Larry Chang, our Best Center manager, will walk you through those resources. So with that said, we'll move right into the presentations, and we'll start with Peter Crabtree, who is our Principal Investigator for the Best Center. Peter?
Yes, thank you, Pamela. Good afternoon, everyone. As Pamela said, I am the Principal Investigator for the Best Center. And I want to give you a little tiny bit of background on the Best Center. As Pamela mentioned, one of our primary goal is really to work with community colleges nationally and help them develop instructional capacity, particularly in the area of commercial building technician education, which can come in a variety of flavors and nomenclature, but which ultimately is about focusing on the commercial side, and especially HVAC. Within that, we have some further focus areas: building automation systems technology, technician education, which is a key part of commercial building operations, energy management, energy auditing, and finally, high-performance building operations, and attempting to move the dial, so to speak, to make buildings more efficient, but fundamentally relying on the technician on-site who's going to make those changes and create the operating environment so that efficiency can be achieved. So those are the three primary areas within that broader educational goal. We're also engaging industry stakeholders to support this effort. One of our areas of great interest is to develop a certification nationally recognized in the high-performance building field, and we're also supporting efforts to develop certifications for the building automation systems technician. Neither of those areas currently have certifications. Much more work has been done at the residential and light commercial level, including our friends at HVAC Excellence. The commercial sector hasn't been addressed. Finally, our third major goal is to strengthen the pipeline from high school into the building sciences field at community college. At Laney and at many other institutions across the country, our average age is 30 or higher. It's very hard to attract smart, capable high school students into this field. And frankly, our research is showing that retirement levels are going to be upwards of 50% over the next 10 years. And we are going to have to encourage and entice young people to explore careers in building science. So that's another key goal for us, and to engage those students so that they view this as a viable career opportunity. Next slide. So one of the things we are engaged with this year is really, go back one, please. We are attempting to, thank you, identify, first of all, help define what is a high-performance building. Some of us have heard the term green building, intelligent building. There's even a term called bright green building. And buildings obviously contribute a large volume of greenhouse gases. And if we're able to make buildings more efficient, then we'll be able to make a dent in our contribution to the carbon footprint that we need urgently to address. You can see some of the myths and realities that we've uncovered. And indeed, a well-operated but average designed building will outperform a very well-designed building that is not very well operated. We also find through research that technicians who are very well prepared and doing, in essence, high performance work are not working in isolation, but are supported by owners and facility managers. It is actually an organizational commitment that we see. So that feeds back into this whole industry engagement that we need to work with building owners and managers as well as simply doing the training part for high performance building technicians. And finally, we find that the skill sets needed for high performance building technicians require very strong analytical skills. And this is where community colleges in particular have much to contribute, because we can work on those that development of those analytical skills that are crucial for high performance building technicians. And let's look at the next slide, please. So one of the things we're working on this year is to really identify what are those unique skill sets that help define what a high-performance building technician knows and is able to do. And there have been some excellent work on defining broadly skill sets, but very little has been done to help define skill sets for what we're calling a high-performance building technician. Now that job title, you won't find it out there. What you will find is a range of different titles. I think HVAC Excellence actually has some good analysis of different job titles that are out there. This particular type of work is what you get when you talk more qualitatively with building owners and managers about the kinds of skill sets that are desired. And you would find these individuals working in Energy Star buildings, perhaps some LEED buildings, and so forth. So as we begin to try to expand out from, and also the other term that's often used is kind of a super technician. Owners are looking for a super technicians, and it's not well defined. And so one of our goals this year is to really help define what we mean by the term and how we can begin to prepare people with these skill sets. Obviously, the first characteristic of a high-performance building is that it uses proactive maintenance strategies and practices. That is an essential criteria, and technicians are operating in that proactive mode. Technicians also use data, and they use data collection devices, and they analyze data. And again, this is not necessarily what we think of as a typical technician skill set in the commercial building sector. And so that's the gap that we have to address with our educational programs. Root cause analysis, systems thinking. Because commercial building systems are so highly interactive, can we go back for a sec? Systems thinking is crucial for technicians to use. And finally, I'll just mention the ability to understand and apply trade-offs between occupant comfort and energy efficiency. Technicians have to be able to assess those trade-offs. We would never sacrifice occupant comfort for energy efficiency. However, we can do much more to achieve energy efficiency and still preserve occupant comfort. And finally, using BAS systems. What we find when we look in the field is that often BAS systems are unused. The technology is there. The ESCOs have done a great job marketing their technologies. They've been installed properly, but no one is looking at the resulting data. The technicians have not been trained to pull that data out and use it effectively for fault detection and troubleshooting. So these are the areas that, some of the areas that we need to focus on as educators in building up our commercial programs. Thank you.
All right. Hi, everybody. I'm Ted Wilinski, one of the co-principal investigators for the BEST Center and also instructor at Milwaukee Area Technical College. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about looking for instructors, or faculty, and industry advisors. And I'm going to start it out by just giving a little bit of background about myself and how I got to where I am. I'm a mechanical engineer, and I've been in the industry for quite a number of years, 30, 35 years. And as part of the work I was doing, I was working with the Milwaukee City group, trying to help them with doing energy audits and trying to meet a goal they had set for 2012, which was 15% energy reduction. And the guy I was interfacing with there, he ended up leaving the city and came to work for Milwaukee Area Technical College. And through that connection, through that network, he recruited me to come here and work. And that's one of the ways, and actually the way I'm going to be talking about trying to find faculty and industry advisors is that same methodology, networking. And those three areas that I'm going to specifically talk about are leveraging professional organizations, looking at social networks, and then looking into your advisory groups for your different programs to talk with them and see if they have interest. Next slide, please. So leveraging the professional organizations, and this I primarily want to address the local organizations. So look at your local chapters of associations such as Association of Energy Engineers, ASHRAE, or American Society of Heating, Refrigeration, Air Conditioning Engineers, Building Owners and Managers Association, BOMA, or IFMA. Get involved with their organizations. Attend their meetings. It's a good way to network, talk with other people, and feel people out as to whether, one, they'll be a good instructor, and then two, whether they have any interest in that. If you can, host chapter meetings at your college. We do that here at MATC. In fact, I've had 2 different organizations this past year, Wisconsin Association of Energy Engineers and IFMA, host their meetings here. Now it's a really effective way of doing it. In addition, there's been a couple of professional organizations that have had events here, and we'll talk about those later on. So hosting a chapter meeting is a good way to network, present your programs, so you're marketing your programs, so looking for potential students as well, and just getting the word out there to the general public that you're there, you have these programs, and you have some needs for instructors. Another way to do it with the trade associations is to look at whether they have newsletters and what they have on their websites. You may be able to write articles for them or post positions up on their websites, which will also be of help to you. Next slide, please. Local unions. I think quite a few of us have apprenticeship programs. I know here at MATC we have, oh boy, I don't even know the exact number, but just the ones that I interact with, it's about a half dozen of them, including sheet metal, steam fitters, and environmental service techs. So you may be able to go to them, go to their unions or some of their meetings and get potential instructors from that group, although they very often have their own programs, so they may already have taken some of the better instructors for their programs. Local industry groups. I'm quite sure most areas have things such as what we have, which is Midwest Energy Research Consortium. It's a group that's focusing on developing energy technologies in the area to help promote the industry and grow it as a hub. So we've hosted one or two of their meetings here. We're very active in their organization, so I can connect with a lot of different people to find out if they have interest or skills that they could bring into our classrooms as an instructor, or maybe they have job or positions open that they want to be part of an advisory group to help guide our curriculum to better address their immediate employment needs. So there's a group that's, well, a way of trying to do it. I also, this morning had a group from the local or statewide energy conservation program, demand-side management program, that was with facilities personnel in the area, and they just started this group up. And as a result, I'm able to network with them and look for potential instructors. Next slide, please. Social networks. So for social networks, you know, the one that I use the most is LinkedIn. On LinkedIn, you can go ahead and post something, post an opening up there on a discussion board. You can pay LinkedIn for advertising a job opening. You know, just simply get up there and start discussing, writing a discussion about it. So that's one. There's other types of social networks, you know, Twitter, you know, Facebook, that may have some potential, although it may be limited. Next slide, please. Then looking at your own industry advisors for your curriculum. Talk with them. I know I've had a number of people on my Sustainable Facilities Operations Committee ask me specifically, hey, I'm really good in this area, can I teach that particular class? And so they are people who we're going to draw on as time goes on to bring them in and be instructors in our courses. Look at local companies that may need technicians. They're good people to talk to try to generate some ideas. Let's see here. Some of the ones that we regularly deal with are Johnson Controls, Siemens, some of the local supply warehouses. I have a student in one of my classes. He works for a local real estate outfit called Vanguard, and I went to an event, so the local chapter of the US GBC or lead system, And he was, the owner of that company was there, and I ran into him. He says, hey, you got to work with our people to help train them. So by that networking, I'm getting more people into my curriculum, but as well, I'm going to have those people come in and talk my classes, and eventually maybe some of those people might turn into people we can use for instructors. By doing that, this whole networking process, there's going to be some additional benefits. Companies may realize that you have those resources, and then they may in turn give you resources such as their time, donate equipment. They may, as I mentioned earlier, post things on their websites or allow you to write articles to get attention. It's a way of helping to market your programs, get more students into your programs. You can get guest presenters, which I find to be an incredible benefit for my students. They really get a lot out of that. And one last side benefit of that is when I'm actively involved going to these different organizations and bringing what I do to them, it gets me more enthused about what I do day in, day out. So it's actually kind of an energy boost for me. So with that, I'm going to pass it over to Brian Lovell, and he's going to continue talking about some of the aspects of labs and development of them. Brian?
Yes, thanks, Ted. That was great information. I appreciate it. Hello, everybody. My name is Brian Lovell, and I've been in the building automation industry now for 22 years. It's hard to believe I've been in it that long. There is a real demand for high-performance building technicians, and part and parcel to that is, as Peter mentioned earlier, a demand for building automation technicians to manage, control, and assess performance of buildings. Next slide, please. My responsibilities for the BEST Center, which go back 3 years now, include dissemination of building automation systems best practices in the areas of curriculum, advisory boards, partnering with industry, building automation laboratory design and development, technical support, and special pricing on building automation equipment for laboratories. In that, there are oftentimes common design and implementation challenges for building automation systems and laboratories, which we'll discuss in just a minute. Next slide, please. We also disseminate pedagogical or teaching methods. What you see on the screen now is the Campus as a Living Laboratory Guide, which was published by the American Association of Community Colleges in 2013. We've held workshops on this in partnership with other community colleges and sponsored by industry. So the pedagogy or teaching style is also an important piece of how we teach and prepare technicians for high-performance buildings. Next slide, please. What you see on the screen now is one of our workshops that we held last year at Kelly Corporation in July of 2014. Kelly Corporation, which you'll hear about in just a few minutes, is the leading building automation systems peripherals supplier in the United States. So we work closely with them. Next slide, please. This year, in June of 2015, we also had a building automation systems workshop at Automated Logic headquarters in Kennesaw, which is just outside of Atlanta, which is the city that I work from, in association with Georgia Piedmont Technical College. Next slide. And we have an upcoming workshop at Siemens headquarters in Buffalo Grove, just outside of Chicago, Illinois. That's coming up in November of 2015. Next slide. We also disseminate best practices as far as trainers, and what you see on the screen now is one such trainer which has been designed and is being disseminated through our network of colleges. When we disseminate trainers, we list out all the products, and we try to also disseminate lessons and learning plans to go along with those for our member colleges. There are often challenges to implementing laboratory solutions. And to speak on that, I'd like to introduce Bob Clark from the College of DuPage. Bob has been a long-time attendee of our workshops in the past, and he's a great example of how to effectively procure, design, and implement laboratory solutions. And so with that, Bob, I'll turn it over to you.
Thanks, Brian. I remember 3 years ago when I met Peter, Brian, Larry, and Ted, and we all sat in there, and they were very welcoming, and it changed my perspective on how to approach laboratories, how to look at solutions. It was just an environment where other people that wanted to change were all together, and you could collaborate and get ideas. I remember sitting there with Brian, and the first thing that struck my mind when I saw him talk for the first time was, this guy is professional. And he held some values that I think are very important when designing your own plant. And one of them happens to be acquiring equipment. It's possible for anybody, whether your budget's big or small. If you get the right people involved, everybody's willing to give you stuff, and it is a reality. And it's something that I've learned over the past couple of years. I mean, since you had first spoken to that at, I believe it was the First Best Conference in Atlanta. In regards to protecting education, you know, I always keep that firm belief with any organization that comes in, and if they think that donating equipment means that they can own your organization, that's not the case, and there's a reality behind that, and Brian stuck true to that, and that's a value that I think was instilled into me from day one from BEST, and that's my point about BEST is you learn these values and ways to approach designing and creating this laboratory or this program to find and seek out what we're considering to be a high-performance building technician. It's a group of educators all experiencing this change, or people looking for change, and it's about the future of energy. So with that being said, I've been at COD for about 2 years. We have a 13,000 square foot lab. We had a huge, that's a huge lab, and just tons and tons of potential. And when I first got there, I had to start thinking, you know, how am I going to design this lab? And with that, if I could put any best values on anybody, I would say that you have to have that vision and the mission, just like a business. You have to have a vision, you have to have a mission, and you got to move forward with that. And that means, you know, let's look into what is my budget? You know, we have to plan that budget out. How much of my budget can I use to develop this lab? What grants can I get available? I've received tons of grants in the last 2 years and written for a bunch more even this year. Anything you can do to move forward and develop your lab the way that you possibly, to the best potential you can. And your advisory board, you know, setting yourself up to be successful means setting yourself and putting yourself around people that can help you maintain that professionalism and be successful and hire your students. So one of the rules, if I could give back to the world, I'd say it's the #1 rule of sales and business is you have to ask for the business. It's no different in HVAC, you know, equipment procurement. It's you have to ask for the equipment. The second somebody says I have the equipment, we ask for something else. Don't let it die. You have to stay on it. Tenacity wins all. To talk about our systems, what we're doing at the school is we're monitoring all of our electrical power. We're monitoring all of our gas that comes in, and at the same time, we're automating our entire lab with a building automation system that can be controlled from our classrooms. And if you attend this, the BEST event in November, you'll be able to see what's actually happening in our lab. When we look at what are we trying to understand from a systems perspective that Peter had spoke to earlier, we wanted to come up with a micro-sized central plant, a building that we could simulate, but at the same time size it so it could exhibit the same stress conditions that a normal facility would experience on maybe a time of stress on that system, whether it be a really cold environment or a really hot environment. And to create a lab that can exhibit that takes a lot of time. It's very involved. Getting the equipment, developing it, setting it up, getting the students to run forth on it. There's a lot to it. So in our plant, we did it in phases. So if you could go to the next slide, I'll show some pictures of how actually things were being developed as we moved through it, but we wanted to move with chillers first. We wanted to move into chillers. So considering we needed chillers, we had to have a way to get those chillers, the load put on that chiller. So we decided to go with Train and get an air handler, which was inspired by Kelly, one of the best events that we had gone to. They had a really nice air handler, and we wanted to shed some of our load and put our load into this chiller, but we've been developing and building on the system. Students are building everything in our lab, by the way. So that's another priority and value I try to stay with is our students build our lab. And I think it's important, and I think it's very important for industry people as they walk through the door to know that students are doing this from a hiring and employability perspective. This is our air handler here. There's a lot more that we'll speak about probably at the event coming up in November, but just to give you a couple of pictures, a couple of ideas, this will be one of our secondary systems. So we have a primary secondary loop, just like you would have in every commercial building in the world. Could we go to the next slide, please? We had to have a pumping system installed. The students, they're pouring pump bases, they're pouring the foundation for our cooling tower, and we had to mix it up, grout it, put them together, put all the J-bolts in. These are kind of systems that if you have questions on, it's not that it's some advanced topic. There are people at the Best Center that are willing to help, and I'm one of them. If you have questions on how do I develop, where do I start? I think that's a question that we all ask ourselves. Where do I start? It's this mountain we have to climb, and how are we going to climb it? That's a major question I think that's out there. Go to the next slide, please. So it's even way further beyond this point right now, but at the same time of getting our chillers and procuring them, we had a geothermal system, which you see under the chill water system there, donated from Train, so we figured we'd just start incorporating everything into the same package. The piping, we have hundreds of feet of piping in, we have hundreds of feet of unistrut. It's just, it's a system that you have to approach, and you have to bite it off in pieces. It seems overwhelming, but it's something that you just have to slowly develop. We're developing a hot water system, a steam system, and our automation system that's going to control and develop everything. Next slide, please. Just a snapshot of our cooling tower from last summer coming out. We've got a lot more on that, as you guys will see here coming up. And also, before I give this up, one thing, if I could say it, I would say, you know, get involved and work with us all. I think there's tons of potential if you start getting involved with this group to start looking forth and figuring out what a true high-performance building technician is. And with that being said, I'd like to turn this over to Charlotte.
Thank you. And thank you all for all of your innovative work. And now I'm going to speak a little bit about how you could get involved with some of this work. My name is Charlotte Forrest, and I am project manager and co-principal investigator for Florence Darlington Technical College's South Carolina Advanced Technological Education Center of Excellence. We are a national center that specializes in faculty development, curriculum development, and I'm here representing Mentor Connect, which is a project for leadership development and outreach for the ATE, or Advanced Technological Education Program. So the first thing I'll talk about is a little bit about National Science Foundation and Advanced Technological Education's program. Hope you've heard about it, and why you should take advantage of several opportunities through our organization, Mentor Connect, and what our success has been to date. So this first slide that you see is an introduction to the National Science Foundation if you're not as familiar. The main mission, as you know, at NSF is to advance the progress of science. So this funding agency funds research and education for programs like the ones that you've heard today. The Advanced Technological Education Program is directed through the Education and Human Resources Directorate at NSF under the Division of Undergraduate Education. Some of you may use acronyms and hear it coined DUE. The Advanced Technological Education Program is one of the largest programs and is congressionally mandated to provide funding for technician education. So essentially the program emphasizes the importance of two-year community colleges and technical colleges taking a leadership role in educating technicians for a high technological workforce and for driving forward our economy. So the program promotes and strives on partnerships between academic institutions and industry to promote science and engineering specifically. And some of these areas include curriculum development, faculty professional development, and several additional career pathways. Now, should you, from what you've heard today, should you be interested in the 21-year program, know that Mentor Connect, I'll talk a little bit more about that, is here to help. We're wanting to impact the NSF ATE program by assisting first-time potential awardees into the small new to ATE category. This category of funding is right around $200,000 over a course of 2 to 3 years, but if you have not taken advantage of this funding in the past, it's a phenomenal opportunity. Next slide, please. The slide that you see is just, again, more information about the ATE, or Advanced Technological Education Program. I strongly encourage anyone who is interested in funding from National Science Foundation in this program to read the program solicitation closely. So when you go onto the website, you look up the ATE program, you will see the solicitation. The page for ATE looks similar to this. I've also highlighted information about who the program officers for this program are, and you are welcome to contact them as well as our staff at any time. So the solicitation is all of the guidelines that you need and things you need to know about the funding source. So Mentor Connect, what is this organization? Again, it's leadership development and outreach for the ATE program. We are a funded project through the National Science Foundation and started this project in September of 2012 and have been refunded this July for another 5-year duration. So until 2020, we want to train more faculty to implement great programs like the ones you've heard today. The project currently serves cohorts of over 200 faculty and administrators in 61 colleges in 24 states and growing. Essentially, our vision is to be a regenerative mentoring system for leadership development and knowledge transfer for the program. Our focus is to help you compete for NSF dollars that strengthen technician education. Believe it or not, these funds go underutilized, so I can't emphasize that enough. To develop STEM faculty leadership in this program. A lot of folks are graying out, and we need new leaders to step into the leadership role. We serve those who are considered to be underserved or underrepresented, whether faculty in your rank, community colleges in rural areas, and the communities that you serve. We offer proposal development and grant writing assistance for small grants for institutions new to ATE. And then lastly, in addition to that, if you are not interested in a mentorship, we offer technical assistance and guidance to potential and funded principal investigators. Mentor Connect functions in 3 ways, essentially, offering 1, annual mentorships to 20 colleges in a cohort style. 2, providing technical assistance workshops and webinars, such as we go into detail on forms, budgets, evaluation. And then 3rd, we offer out a resource collection or a help desk in leadership development. To be eligible for the mentorship, your college team must consist of faculty members and grant writers working one-on-one with a mentor who is seasoned in the ATE community. You also cannot have had funds from the ATE program for the past 10 years or ever. You must also have STEM faculty who prepare technicians for the American workforce. So in particular, if you have, again, community colleges in rural areas or populations who are underrepresented in STEM, this opportunity could be for you. You'll hear much more about the process, and should you have an interest, we have a orientation webinar that is archived and available for your viewing. So this is a quick overview of our success rates to date. So one, if you apply to the mentorship, you have right around a 66% chance of being accepted. We accept 20 colleges per year with an average of 31 colleges applying. And, you know, should you want to submit a proposal to NSF ATE as a result of our program, the cohort success has been 90%. 90% of the colleges have submitted proposals to the National Science Foundation ATE program. And then lastly, who's awarded through NSF ATE as a result of this Mentor Connect program? Right around 61% of those each year who have submitted a proposal have been successful. And with all that being said, I just want everyone to keep in mind that for this particular program, the funding rate is right around 20%. So some of these numbers are quite nice in the grand scheme of things. So how do you get involved? We welcome you to our community. Step one, view our project orientation at no cost. It's available through our website at www.mentorconnect.org or via our Mentor Connect YouTube channel. Two, we encourage you to consider applying for the mentorship opportunity. The deadline is this Friday. However, it's a very short, concise application, but we encourage you to ask questions and apply. And then lastly, visit our website. There are lots of opportunities to seek grant writing assistance, lots of technical assistance, lots of FAQs, so please, please, please take advantage. So with that being said, with the opportunities out there, I encourage you to keep in contact with us, as opportunities for assistance in grant writing for ATE are all over. And folks like the BEST Center, the SCAPE Center, who are national centers, and all projects welcome your questions. So I'm Charlotte Forrest, and I hope to meet you again soon. And at this time, I'll turn it back over to Larry from the BEST Center.
Thanks so much, Charlotte. Thanks to all of my fellow presenters and those of you attending today as we go into the home stretch. My task today is to provide you with a brief overview of our web-based resources, which include our website at bestctr.org and our various webinars. I'll be focusing mostly on the website. It is still a growing child. It is 1.5 years old, so I invite all of you to visit, register, which you can do by going to the upper right-hand portion of the homepage and explore the resources. By registering, you get full access to everything, and give us your feedback. That's the only way we'll know how best to, again, improve things to meet your needs. The website is both there for faculty and students. And Just to give you, again, that brief rundown, if you go to the Educator's Toolbox, that is the 5th button from the left on your navigation bar, you'll see that we have curriculum documentation focusing at present on 4 programs: Building Automation Systems, Commercial Building Energy Audits and Analysis, Commercial HVAC, which is here at Laney, and Sustainable Facilities Operations, which has Milwaukee Area Technical College as its home. You will again find both documentation for the program as well as individual courses. A reminder, you must be registered on our website as a member to be able to download these. Following that, there is a page full of links that will take you to a variety of college web pages so you can see what other colleges across the nation are doing. Next, lab specs. I'll be going into that in a little bit more detail. And then looking at research reports and workshop materials. These are both freely available for download. You do not need to be registered in these cases. I just want to highlight that under research reports, Laney College had commissioned a number of case studies and a very extensive project titled Current Situation and Trends in Buildings and Facility Operations. It really is a very deep level investigation into the profession and culture of building operators. Many of my colleagues have already talked about the workshops. They are very robust and intense events. So go to that page. You'll find the agendas and PowerPoint presentations, which we hope you'll be able to use in your classroom. And then we will also be reviewing student resources, but I also encourage faculty and counselors to go there as well. And I'll review these in the next few slides. Looking at the lab specs, kind of following up on what Brian and Bob have spoken about, we do want to document some model labs from across the country. Here at Laney College, you go to this page, you'll find a number of thumbnails, including a floor plan and photos of a complete hydronic system with boiler and chiller and the cooling tower. And then you can also view our setup of VAV boxes as well as our multi-vendor control setup. Below you'll find a brief description, and we will also include a list of equipment for the lab. The webinars that I mentioned, we have done 3 in the past. You'll see them highlighted here with arrows. HVAC Excellence was a presenter at 2 of those, the one on accreditation, the one on credentialing. So good habits here they're hard to break. We appreciate their involvement. And I'm glad to also point out, I checked today, we have had nearly 2,100 views of the accreditation webinar recording, so please keep them coming. Brian Lovell also talked about Campus's Living Lab, and that was the last webinar that we conducted. Turning to the student resources, we think that the job listings is definitely one of the most dynamic parts of our website. Here you can search state by state. This page basically pulls in live RSS feeds from a variety of career and jobs-related websites. So if you look at this example for the state of Georgia, this is just a very brief sample. These are the active listings as of a few days ago, and it's very clear that building automation systems and controls technicians are quite in demand in that state, particularly in the Atlanta area. And here we're looking at the college and program directory, and this is only for the active colleges in the BEST network. And usually college has participated in at least one workshop to be included on this list here. Again, just a short sample. You can search on these by programs, by city and state. So it's very handy. If you click on the name of the school, that link will take you to the college homepage. And finally, as a number of my colleagues have already mentioned, I want to alert you to our upcoming events. This coming November, we will have a 3-day event that will be hosted both at Siemens headquarters and the College of DuPage. This will be our 4th. So our BAS workshops have been immensely popular. In the winter, we'll come back here to Laney and we'll be looking at resources at the Lawrence Berkeley National Lab, one of our co-principal investigators, and the energy efficiency resources and labs at UC Davis. So that's definitely going to be a very rich event. And then finally, I'd like to call out the event that will be taking place next March in Vegas. Yours truly and Gerald McWhorter of Georgia Piedmont will be leading a session on campus as a living lab. Go to the link which you see right here to find out more and to register. It's a really great event. There are many insightful presentations, and the collective wisdom in the room it just makes it really exceptional. I say where this event is concerned, what happens in Vegas should not stay in Vegas, and this kind of information sharing needs to go far and wide. Thank you so much for your time today, and I will return the baton back to my colleague, Pam Wallace.
Thanks, Larry. Well, we heard a lot of information today that I think will provide some resource and guidance for our faculty members and our practitioners. We talked about the evolution of the high-performance building technician skill sets that are needed to manage these high-performance buildings, and a little bit about the BEST syndrome, what we offer in the way of resources, and got some advice on how to find faculty and industry advisors, and we heard a little bit about how to develop a lab, some of the equipment that one would consider including from the College of DuPage, which we're profiling as one of the best practices of the colleges in our network. And we heard a little bit about the technical support and assistance that we can provide, and how this network actually, beyond the resources on the website and the professional development webinars and workshops, the camaraderie and collaboration that comes from those who are involved in this network. So the last thing, after we talked about the equipment, just having the finances to pay for the equipment that you want to put in the lab, we've been successful at getting some discount packages negotiated for folks that are in our network through distributors and ALC, and we're doing the same with other manufacturers. So that's another benefit of being involved in this network, getting discounts on the equipment. And then lastly, we heard about ways to get financing to get that equipment through NSF Grants and working through Mentor Connect program to help provide the guidance to be successful in getting grant funding through the National Science Foundation. And so then lastly, we heard information about the resources that are available on our website. So listen, don't fret. If you didn't take good notes during this call, you can just go online to bestctr.org and register. Then you'll be able to hear this webinar all over again and also have access to the resources that we have online. And Larry mentioned job listings for students, but I think even our practitioners would be able to benefit from all the job listings if they're considering making job changes. So just a lot of information on our website that will be useful to faculty and practitioners. So we encourage you and invite you to register at bestctr.org. And with that, I think we'll open it up for questions, you see our contact information on the screen. We've got Larry's phone number. I think I'll ask Renee to help us now if we want to facilitate any questions that people may have.
Pam, so far we've had one question that was submitted during the presentation, so I'm going to go ahead and read that off for you. It says, in your photo of folks who attended your workshops, I noticed large groups of men with one woman. Are you employing strategies to recruit women or underrepresented into this field and into the pipeline for educators and or reaching out to women educators specifically?
I'd say yes. As a female in particular, I'm the director of the program, and we are very much interested in increasing the number of women involved in this field. One of the other things we're doing in terms of linking into the pipeline to get high school students interested in this career is reaching out to organizations and putting on summer workshops that are reaching into high school students that are attracting both males and females. So I think the last BAS workshop we had, there were a few more women than we've seen previously, but that is one of our goals, to increase women's involvement in this field.
Okay, there is a question about how do I access the recorded presentation. I arrived late. Great question. The recorded webinar or the recorded presentation will be available on the Best Center website. The Best Center website is bestctr.org. You do need to be registered on the site in order to access any of the information. So if you missed any of the portions of the presentation today, if you came on late or got interrupted in the midst of the presentation, you'll be able to go on and see this presentation and many of the other resources they have available on the website as well. There is another question. Do we have any update on a comprehensive set of KSAs for BAS technicians? Anybody want to address that question?
Yes, this is Brian Lovell. I work on building automation as a co-PI for the Best Center. And before everybody signs off, I'd first like to also say that on the last slide, it had the Siemens workshop as November 12th through the 14th. But I believe that Siemens workshop is the week after that, just if people are using that as a save the date. Now, to answer the KSA question, yes, we are working actively to get a comprehensive set of KSAs, which will fuel an ANSI ISO national certification. We're well on the way of doing that through another 501c3 organization that partners with the Best Center. So that will be forthcoming in the months to come.
Great.
And thank you, Brian.
We are at the hour. Do you guys want to stay and address? It looks like there's at least 2 more questions on here. Do you want to?
Sure.
If there's anybody that would like to leave, you are certainly welcome to, since the presentation has been completed, but we do have a couple of other good questions on here if you'd like to stay on, and we'll try and address those.
Thanks, Renee, and also let me interject that Brian's correct. The actual day for the webinar, for the workshop is November 19th, 20th, and 21st. And that's the BAS workshop, which will be in Chicago at the Siemens headquarters.
I'm going to go ahead with the question. I'm very glad to have been directed to this webinar. Pleased to see organizations like SEMA and IFMA among interested companies. I am from Canada. Does BEST cross the border?
Well, our focus has been primarily working with colleges and industry advisors in the U.S., but to the degree that some of our industry advisors are global entities, then we are happy to reach across the border.
And I would add, Pamela, that if this is a faculty member asking this question and they want to participate in these events, please register online and let us know that you're interested.
Absolutely. The next question, it has been difficult to attract the attention of senior administrators whose support is vital to make progress in big investments that BAC and high efficiency HVAC training entails. Can the BEST Center help?
This is Brian again. I'll jump in real quickly. Yes, we've helped with a number of institutions, and if you contact us, as Peter said, we'd be happy to assist with that.
Okay, let's see. It looks like we got through all of the questions that came in. It looks like we've addressed all the questions that came in writing. Once again, if anybody has any additional questions that we did not cover or something that you don't want to ask through the presentation, please feel free to email info@bestctr.org. We'd like to thank everyone for their time and their attention. And once again, to access the recorded webinar, feel free to register on the BEST Center website at bestctr.org. Thank you for attending. We hope you have a great rest of the day.